You're not going to believe what's just been said on this podcast. You're not going to believe it. Tune in.
Film.
Don't miss it.
This is on film.
And I'm not to blame.
It's their fault.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what, we're so
Is it
thrilled to
promo?
have you.
Surely.
I know, that was
I know.
There you
Actually,
go.
it's the best thing. You
No, that's a great one. I'm not.
And you know what, Ben? I've been wanting you to be at our back fence for absolutely years, and I just thought the timing is right. And then, you know, like with John Law's passing too, I was just going, extra thank you for coming on, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if you pulled the pin this week, because it's been
I
really
thought
hard.
about it about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, hasn't it? Yeah.
But I promised myself years ago that I'm not going to cancel things once I've said I'm doing things, which also disciplines you to not commit to things that you may not be able to follow through on.
Yeah.
So I'm better now at saying no to more things,
Yeah.
but when you say yes to something, you follow through.
Wow. We hope you feel
This
better.
is self-help.
Well,
This
we-
is self-help
we
with
hope
Ben.
you feel-
But I'm all about that.
Welcome to the show.
That's why we're
Well, I tell you what, I
here.
hope you feel
Self-help
better
with Ben
by the
Fordham.
end of it too, Ben, because it's just like when we were on Mark Boris's show too.
Hmm.
It was funny at the end. He goes, "You guys have really energised us."
Yeah,
He said,
yeah,
in the
yeah.
afternoon, he said, I get a bit tired.
And he
You
goes,
guys
"Oh, I
are
just
giving
realised I
me
had another podcast. It's like you girls like this
And
sort
then
of
we
stuff."
were laughing our
I
heads
know.
off, and he went, but it's
Because
true.
you're energising buddies, you know.
Well-
And look, the podcast is doing really well, by the way, Ben. It's like really taken off, and we're just we must. You know, when you said you're passionate about something, and being friends, we
Yeah.
didn't know which way it was going to go. We just wanted to do it, but it's also going down a sort of a self-help road, but inspiring
Yeah.
those who are a little bit lost in the 50s and 60s range.
Yeah.
And it's anchored, and we're found our little niche as friends. Like we're yin and yang, but it just works. And I couldn't be happier.
Well, you've kind of been hosting this show for years before you were hosting it as a show.
That's true.
And I've been there before.
That was really well
I've
said.
been there before live and watching
You-
it live
isn't it
around
so
the kitchen,
funny? Exactly.
out on the deck, having a
Love that.
In the
champagne.
swimming pool, you know.
The only difference is now you've got microphones and a really,
It's
really
true.
cool studio.
But I always
Yeah.
have one on my handbag anyway. I'm only joking.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, wow.
I'm live television based, and I sing a bit. So
Oh, don't
it just
get us
happens to be a
started.
microphone.
Yes.
Oh, I've got one in
Yes,
my
yeah.
handbag. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Well, I hope we're singing today.
Oh
hope
yeah,
so.
hey, drop of a hat. but runs in
I'm
the
shocked.
family.
And this
your
is how good
brother,
you guys are.
know.
I actually do not know at this point whether the podcast has started or not.
We don't know either.
Has
Is
it?
it rolling?
I think we just keep going. I think we just keep going.
I think so.
Seriously?
I think we keep
so.
going. I think
I'm
that's
gonna say,
I
we
think
are-
it's a sign of a good podcast, I
Yeah,
think.
I
And
agree.
I noticed there are some that I listen to and you'll hear the guest about 20 seconds in to go, so is this, we've started? Yeah, we've started. It took me about 4 or 5 minutes to go, okay, I think we're underway. But it's great to see you guys in your, not that you're not in your natural habitat
Yes,
when you know you're being recorded, but it's just so good to be able to,
Yeah.
And you ask about John Laws, I may
Yes.
as well touch
Yeah,
on that
absolutely.
Well,
I just saw.
Tell us, because it's been a big
Also,
week.
if you
Yeah.
can't recognise this voice, who do you think it is? It is.
Hello, world.
Ben
Can you-
Fordham.
Ben Fordham.
I'm
I
John
think you-
Law.
I think you. I think you.
What's
should,
on your
you
mind, Australia? Over the back fence.
I
Call
love
us.
him.
Oh, you should
I
open
love
up the
him.
potty for
The,
us. It's already open.
look-
It's
So
got
what was
Benny.
your relationship like with John Laws?
Well, the history is that my mum and dad had a management business where they looked after famous people. It kind of started out of nowhere, and it's a long story, but early on when they started it, John Laws said, can you manage me? And my mum and dad at the time, it was the biggest client that ever came their way. So when I was growing up, we just knew Lawsy as this, I suppose, big money maker for mum and dad, where we went from, living in a pretty ordinary house into a nicer house. And then there was there was some of those things that kind of changed along the way, and we realised this is a result of him trusting my parents to manage him. So they've managed him forever, even though my dad's not here anymore. Dad died a number of years ago. And when Dad died, I then kind of thought, I should probably be catching up with Lawsy, because I didn't have a one-on-one relationship with him. I'd worked at the same radio station, and he'd always been good to me when I was a young reporter, including giving me a bottle of wild turkey when I kicked the goal one day. He used to do that
How
for...
old are you? 12?
19, but he used to do it for all of us.
Yeah.
If you do a really good story, Lawsy would have a bottle of wild turkey rare breed, which is kind of the upper scale expensive one, in your pigeonhole with a note saying, well done, Lawsy.
Love
So
that.
I a
Pat
few
on the
years ago thought, it's happened a bit with my dad not being around, where there are certain people where you realise my dad checked in on them, and so I should probably check in on them. And Lawsy was one of them, and I went for a lunch with him. I took along two of my great mates, Richard Wilkins, who you guys know really well, and Peter Stefanovic, who you guys know really
absolutely,
well.
Yeah.
And they both said afterwards, that was so cool, let's do it again. And Lawsy, apparently, Jodie, his right-hand woman, said to me afterwards, she goes, John's walked on air for about 2 weeks after that because you guys are young and you make him feel young again, and he's got an audience there of kind of, we're all listening to all of his stories and egging him on. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been lunching with him. Jodie would come along as well most of the time. Sometimes she left the boys alone.
Was it at the Wharf? Did you
at
go
the
to
Wharf, at Otto,
At
every
Otto,
time.
of course.
Well, in fact, I convinced him away from there once. He would only have lunch at Otto.
Yep.
But I said to Jodie at one stage, I think John should come with us somewhere else for a bit of a
Big
new
move.
experience.
Big move.
She was
Ben.
like, he's not going to like the sound of that. And I said, it'll be really easy. So it was Luke Mangan's
Yes.
restaurant.
Oh, yeah, great.
In the city, and I said there's a lot of history to the building. He'll like the history because
Glass,
it's the old Sydney Water building, and so that's in the Margot Kimpton Hotel. So
beautiful.
Luke's kitchen. So Lawsy came there, but apart from that, it was his place, and I had occasionally convinced him afterwards. I kind of whispered to him to go, we should show the boys what hard work can get you.
Yeah.
Why don't we take them back to the apartment afterwards? Because at the end of Woolloomooloo Wharf, there's kind of 3 big apartments. Russell Crowe lives in one.
yes,
John
yeah.
Laws lived
I
in
just
the
sold
other.
one there.
Yeah.
Just to have
And
one.
so it's luxury, right?
Special.
So Lawsy then called for the golf buggy. The golf buggy met us in the car park underneath Otto. And then he raced after drinking 2.5 bottles of white wine, raced us through there in the golf buggy, and I sang his closing
How old are
song.
we talking? How old is
No, this is
No,
only
this is only
a year and a half
how
ago.
old, how old are we talking?
Well,
in
he-
the golf cart.
He's 89 at the
Yeah,
time.
it's about to get-
He's 89.
You've actually got a video of it.
I've got a video.
It's gold. It really is.
and all I could think was it was a pinch me moment, so I just started singing Lawsy's closer song to his radio show. Let me be a little kinder, let me be a little blinder. So I just started.
Blinders, right.
After a long
we
lunch.
were blind. And James Willis, my
Surprise,
mate, was
surprise.
hanging on the
Yeah.
back. And we went back there, and so it
What
was
a
just
memory,
it was
though.
really nice. So I saw him 11 days before he died. We had another lunch, which was Halloween. But my mum called me a few days before and said, I don't think lunch is going to happen. Lawsy's not well. You should ring Jodie. So I called Jodie, Lawsy's right-hand woman, Jodie Borgo, and she explained, she said, he reckons lunch is still going ahead.
I
don't
But
love
he's been in
that.
hospital for 2 weeks.
Jeez, he lived a good life.
And having travelled to, I think, 12 countries in the last 18 months,
Incredible.
including, like, you know, he loves Rome, so Rome a lot, Iceland, Greenland on cruises, loved apparently Dubai in recent years as well, so time in Dubai. And but anyway, I went and saw him instead at home just on my own for 10 minutes, and I recorded a few videos for him. So I
Like
got
you did with your dad.
yeah.
Yes,
When-
yeah.
on
Yeah.
his-
Yes, yeah.
So-
before he
Yeah,
passed.
yeah.
Yeah, so I recorded 3 Cheerio messages from people who he knows. One was
beautiful
from
for him.
Chris Minns.
Wow.
Oh, we
Premier.
I
Everyone
Yeah,
adores
one
him.
was
Yeah.
from Richard,
Yes, yeah.
and one was from Peter Overton.
Oh,
So I would have asked Albo, but he was overseas, and I thought,
that's really
how
special,
well do I know
Ben.
Albo?
Yeah.
And I was like, I know him pretty well, but well enough to interrupt an overseas trip to say, can you record a
Can you
video
do
for
a
me?
cheery
And then I thought, what if Lawsy lives for another 12 months and Albo will be going, well, I walked out of a meeting with a Malaysian Prime Minister.
I love it.
And Lawsy's still going. But
Yeah.
but we kind of knew then. I said to him,
Oh, special.
I said to him, mate, we're not going to lunch today. You know that? And he said, yeah. And I said, but I'm still going to go to lunch. And I'm going to have one for you. And he goes, have 2.
but take
and that was
two
the last
So-
thing he virtually sort of
That
said
was the
to
last
you.
thing he said to me. And then he died 10, 11 days after that. And yeah, it's been really sad because it's a bit of an end of an era.
Yeah.
And it's
His family to you.
yes, not so much family to me, I suppose. I wouldn't pretend to be that close to him, but certainly a mate.
Yeah.
And like in the truest sense of the word,
good
not everyone likes going to lunch anymore on a Friday. A lot of people my age, I'm 48. I know I'm old compared to some people watching, but to some people listening, I'm younger.
Yeah.
But not
Still
everyone.
got that cheeky schoolboy about him.
does.
I'm just
That's
Not-
what we
saying
love. That's what we love him.
And I can talk because you haven't had a chance to ask the question yet. But
We love that.
My intro's
I've
just
only
been
had
thrown
two.
out.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't
I've
need
got two
it.
questions.
Anyway,
No,
yeah.
but
So that Ben can chat.
But you
But
know-
can I just quickly
Yeah.
say, because I
Yes,
said
yeah.
to Nicola
Yeah.
yesterday at the wharf, my memories, because the boys were at school and I'd stay there during the week, and my memories of him going past, John going past with Caroline,
Yeah.
arm in arm,
Oh,
like
yeah.
Princess.
this, like arm in
Oh,
arm.
yeah.
Then he'd hold her hand like that.
Yeah.
And I always watched, because I'd say it's
beautiful.
about that time, and I looked out and they're walking down to Otto's. And I used to love story. Look, I've got goosebumps.
Yeah.
So I used to
he just adored
check in and
her.
go love story, and it was really special. And it was, like I wish we do more of that in our society.
Yeah.
Is go for a meal, sit with someone you love, family, friends, or otherwise.
Yeah.
And commune like you were doing with him. Connection. That's what
Yeah.
we're lacking in
Yeah,
our
And
world.
it's a
Connection.
great. I just love a
Connection.
lunch too.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great way
I
to
prefer
Surprise,
catch up with
surprise.
people.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
I want to congratulate
that,
you
Ben.
too, Ben, because on the Monday I listened to your show and that was a full tribute to John Laws.
Yeah.
You're in tears.
Yeah.
Don't
I
you
was
I think
in
3
tears.
times. Yeah.
Everybody was in tears, but it was so many happy memories as well. And I
Yeah.
didn't realise, I mean, how many people, he was like their friend.
tearing up.
Yeah.
You know, and people from immigrants that arrived here, they kind of learnt English
Oh, yeah.
from him.
Yeah.
You know, like listening to it was the only
Oh, that's
friend that they
interesting.
had.
Yeah.
And that's the power also of
Well,
radio.
this
but his connection.
fits in a lot with Over the Back
Yes.
Fence because I know how many women you speak to.
Yes.
The interesting thing was, Lawsy's a bit of a blokey bloke.
Mm.
We got more calls from women than men on the Monday, and
Yes.
it turns out that for a lot of women of a certain generation particularly, they were at home looking after a baby or
Yes.
babies. The radio was on, their husband was at work, and they became friends with John Laws. And a lot of mums said, he kept me company during those crazy moments of motherhood, of juggling everything and being alone, and he was a voice on the radio. And he had a voice
And a beautiful
like no
voice.
other, this big, deep voice
Smooth.
and smooth. So
Caramel.
yeah, I think he just worked. There was something about him, and he
Bless you, John.
Yeah, bless you, Lawsy.
John. Yeah,
Bless you,
absolutely.
Lawsy.
Bless you.
He's getting
And
the
on
stage.
behalf of
you know.
all of us,
And it's
you know,
been also
like,
big. We don't want to go about too many deaths, but when you sort of think about with Richo as well,
Yeah.
you know, like that. You know, I think that's a state funeral going to go ahead as
Yeah.
well.
Well,
And
it's made me realise, because Richo was another great mate of mine, and it's
Yes.
made me realise that I think I've done well in life at having friends who are younger than me and friends who are older than me.
Yeah.
And Richo and Lawsy are a perfect example of that. And I think it's a really healthy balance to get all of that knowledge from above while also trying to keep in touch with what's happening next.
great life
And,
advice.
Well, it served me so well
Yeah.
because early on in my working life, I sought out mentors because they weren't presented to me, and
Tell
I
us
just
about
knew.
that. While you're on that too, like how
Well-
old were you when you literally did start?
Well, there
I
was a
think it's
guy.
like media, like I don't know, what do you call it when you're at school? Really, weren't you?
Yeah, I started at 15, work experience,
God.
and then I
How's
was working year 11 and year 12 every Sunday, and then I did my first day full time on the day I got my HSC results, which used to be January. Now I think it's December you get it, but I got the results. Wasn't a great result. The first story I went to cover were the kids who got 100. So I went, oh
Oh,
God.
that's actually really funny.
There were 6 of them, and it was because I didn't know what I was doing. I was a cadet, so you're learning from a
that
real
is
journo.
just so
The real
good.
journo there, Justin Kelly, said to me, "Why aren't you up there, buddy?" I go, "I'm sitting with you." So yeah,
Who's the smart one now?
But then I remember,
You.
for example,
Had a premonition.
I ended up at a current affair later in life after studying in radio, and there was a bloke there called John Muldrew, and John wasn't the friendliest person in the room, but he was the smartest person in the room. And I remember strategically thinking, okay, this guy does not want a new friend who's like 24 or something and turning up full of beans. And he was at the latter stages of his career and
like
made
a
it very
Mexican
clear.
jumping thing.
Yeah, he made it very clear that he
It's
wasn't that
okay.
keen to be there anymore, if you know what I mean. But I just, I remember he put up a photo of a beach on his desk. He had nothing there, but he had this photo. And I said, "What's the photo? What's that?" And he said, "That's," and I won't say the name of the beach because I'm sworn to secrecy. I can't say it because he's convinced if I say it on air somewhere that people are going to go there. But it's down the south coast. It's down the south coast, a tiny little beach in the middle of a national park, right? no street lights, no shops, just a nice quiet
Sounds
little place.
great.
So he said, that's my holiday place that I bought down at whatever beach. And I just thought, I said, well, I'm ready whenever you want. And he said, ready for what? I said, whenever you want to invite me down there for a weekend. He then sent me an email the next Friday and he said, if you're serious, I'm going tonight. And I thought, he's not going to ask me twice, this bloke. He wasn't that friendly. So I went, I'm going. So I went down there, and then I became great mates with John, who I call Rain Man, because he was just had one of those minds where
God.
you'd bring anything up and he just remembered everything about it. And, you know, he was there for like when Mike Willesee went on a current affair drunk.
Yes.
Remember back in the day, Mike Willesee.
I think they've all had a turn.
Yeah,
back that, but,
he
you
was
know,
the host of the show.
He was,
Melbourne
you know.
Cup with
Yeah.
Lisa,
Yeah, so he was
they've
the
all had a
host
go.
of the show, but back in those days, big deal, nightly current affairs show, and Mike Willesee. I've since gone back and watched the tape. And
I have to watch
he
that
got,
again.
He got through the whole show, and then the last story was a quirky story about a random guy who played a trumpet in a park. And he got back after it, and he just kind of laughed at it, and then didn't know what to say. And then he was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I was thinking about that thing from earlier." You know, when you're like, "What? Dude, you're
Busted.
on TV." It was front page story. John was there for that.
yes.
So, you know, you get to know, you know, and I remember him saying on that, he goes, I told him he was pissed.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, so you knew? He goes, well, yeah, we'd all been at the pub.
Yeah.
So, and in those days too, those guys, they
Yeah.
go to
Used
the
to
pub
do
when
it.
I
Different
started.
world.
And we'd go, I remember one of my bosses, David Hurley,
Yeah.
smoking in the office. And at one stage they brought in the rule where they said no smoking in the office. I think it had actually been law 5 years earlier, but it hadn't reached a current affair or Channel 9. So, but then management had said, seriously, this is a smoke-free zone. So what he used to do is he'd lean out the window, out the window, and you'd come in and go, mate, how are you? Yeah. He goes, mate, sorry, mate, they won't let us smoke in. But years earlier, I remember thinking, I just saw him ash on the floor.
Oh,
Like
right,
he was
yeah.
looking over someone's shoulder at
Yeah,
a script
click.
and he ashed. I was like, it's carpet. He's ashing on the carpet.
It's
and you're my
incredible.
boss.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah.
I love learning from those guys, you know.
Yeah.
And equally, I try and do the same, which is why the producers on my radio show are very young, and it's just kind of.
Well, you've
that's
come
worked
in
out
here
as
today.
well.
You've said hello and
Sam
introduced you to our
Sherway,
producer.
who's our
You've said
producer.
hello to David, who's
Yes.
just come in
To
from the
assist
other
as well,
studio,
yeah.
and introduce yourself. You know, at the end of the day,
It's so
we're just talking about
inclusive.
connection.
Yeah.
And Nicola, you're like that. You're remarkable when we go. Like last night, for example, we're at a big event.
Well, top notch,
where
we
were you
went
last
on
night?
stage.
We're on
Mischief.
Ian Malouf's beautiful boat, Mischief.
Oh.
Gorgeous,
And
gorgeous.
it was the launch.
The boat's
of
called Mischief.
Mischief,
Yeah, because we went on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I rest my case. But it was
And
the
your
non-
family. So
Yeah.
your brother, let me
Because I'm
show
one
off
of 8,
about
they all
him.
know that.
Richard Scott's the executive producer, a new show called Top Knots.
Who Benny knows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
We
a
just spoke on the
fabulous-
phone just prior to the podcast because Richard knew my dad.
Yeah, I'm just talking to my brother, and he
Yeah.
goes, "Ben, put Ben on." Like
Yeah,
Ben's
yeah.
going, "Ah, yeah,
when,
yeah."
when your brother was
Yeah.
in the Australian under-21s
Yeah.
rugby side, my dad was the manager of the side.
Wow.
So I've now said to Richard, if you've got a TV show, sure, if you're friends,
Don't you love
you're
it?
related to
But
these
see,
guys
that-
and you know my man, you're on my
you.
show.
And you know something?
know-
Do you remember that night we were at the Little Legs Foundation night? This is just this is
Little
a
Leg
reflection
Rub. Yeah,
on who
leg.
you are. We are going to
Yes.
go a bit deep right now.
Yeah.
I'm going for the core.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
That
Sue
Little Legs
Ellen.
night, which is an amazing, it's childhood cancer, and you're very involved, man. But I just want to bring this to the fore for everyone listening right now about talking about coming from your heart, don't be afraid. Is Nicola and I were sitting, it was a black tie event. Ben Fordham was the MC, but he was running late. The reason he was running late, because he was working covering the Bondi stabbings, so sadly at Westfield. But you bloody well turned up.
Yep.
I've got goosebumps. You raised a freaking fortune for that foundation. And one other thing I want to say is you were away on holidays and someone contacted you on this young boy, Max, who was sick as a dog. They needed $150,000. While you're on holidays, you're organising through the radio station to raise money for that child. That speaks 1,000 words
very
about,
kind,
no, I'm not kind. It's who
it's
you
the way
are.
I was brought up.
Yeah,
I say to young...
go
Dear
Veronica.
Diane, thank you
I
for-
Hi,
say-
Veronica, your
yes.
mum.
And tell
Yeah.
us, and the big
I say-
kahuna. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
right?
what
Yeah.
that's what we call mum, the big kahuna.
So you love that.
She's a rock.
I'll say
love her.
something about my mum in a moment because I've been dealing with my mum a lot lately. But
Look at you and me. Oh.
but they yeah, I said to my young producers, when we moved from the drive show into the breakfast show, it was kind of a big deal for us. And I said, I want everyone to come with me. And there were a new kind of, But I got them each a gift, which was a gift voucher to my dad's favourite restaurant, Verde. But I said a rule. I said, you've got to take your parents. And part of the reason is because I'm a big believer too. When I get a compliment like that, I go, well, I really appreciate it. But it's John and Veronica Fordham that made me the person I am. And equally, I say to my team members, don't get me wrong, you're a very special person and you're an individual and you've made this happen for yourself. But none of this happens without the way you've been formed by your mum and dad to turn you into the person who is able to walk in here, look around the room, treat people well, and learn from other people and not be afraid to cop some feedback, to listen, improve. So I don't know. I think mums and dads deserve a lot of credit for that. And my mum, the big kahuna as we call her the big kahuna because when we were kids, we were in Hawaii. Mum's a bit of a serious character. And I think that's part of what's made her so successful. There's a mate of mine had to ring her once for a charity thing, funnily enough. I said, ring mum, she'll sort it out. Yeah. He goes, oh my God, your mum is formidable. And I went, formidable?
Wow, that's a big word
yeah,
for
she
mum.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
There you go.
And it's like, mate, she's copped, as I said to him, she's copped 20 of those calls today. So I said, what do you mean? He goes, she was just very matter of fact. I go, well, mate, yeah, she's not going to spend an hour on the phone.
Yeah.
Who are you?
She's so busy.
What are you doing? What are you? I'll sort it out for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm 48 and I still rely on mum for so much, including at the moment, God love her, mum is renovating an apartment for me because I had this crazy idea of buying an apartment at the end of my street, a tiny little unit in a
For mum.
For who knows?
Good question.
Yes.
But good question.
Really good question.
Mum thought it was crazy. Jodie thought it was crazy. My accountant thought it was crazy. But then I thought, there's only one way to get this across the line, and that's if you can switch the big kahuna, the others will all follow, right? So what I did, Mum was coming to my house. This is a true story. Mum was coming to my house and she said, I'll be there about 5 o'clock. I said, okay. So at about, I got the keys to the place. Yeah. At about 10 to 5, I called Mum. I said, hey, listen, just keep driving down to the end of the street. Yeah. Come down the end of the street to the building at the end of the street. It's this big old apartment, kind of a 60s building, but there's this tiny little unit in there. So anyway, she came in, walked upstairs, didn't complain or anything. I just said, come and have a quick look at this. She walked in, looked at the view, and she goes, oh my God, how much is it? And I told her, and she goes, you've got to get it.
Oh,
and I went, there you go.
Once again,
Wow.
that's so good.
But how many people could say this to their mum? And believe me, I don't do this often, but I said on this occasion, I went, Mum, I feel so terrible for saying this, but this, because it desperately needs a renovation, right? It's like, decades old, everything's falling apart. So I said, I don't want to have anything to do with the renovation. But what I'll do, I will, and Mum said, well...
hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. I go, Kate in my street, who we call the Gronk, Kate's going to be the style advisor. She's going to be the style advisor. She's getting a Luke Mangan voucher for help.
See, caring.
She likes doing, she loves that stuff. She'll say to me or to my wife, Jodie and I are like, I don't know, do we want those glasses or those glasses? She's one of these girls who goes, no, that's the colour, that's the font.
Love that.
So she's doing that. My old mate Wal was helping with kind of some building stuff, but I just said to Mum, and God love her, she's gone off to Nobby Kitchens, she's gone off to Carpet Court, she's chosen, and I just said, Mum, like Jodie, my wife, is 3rd year studying law, 10 hours a day, 10 hours a day studying. I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mother of 3.
And
Mind you, she woke up at 3 for 15 years.
Yeah, I know. She did. But Mum,
that in with
God
Jodie.
love her, just went, I'll look after it.
Oh, wow.
So this whole renovation is happening.
Yeah.
And she also gets deals too. She gets deals.
Oh,
Because she'll ask people.
another shout out for Veronica.
Joe's good at that too. She goes, if you don't ask, you don't get.
She goes, she'll ask people.
I know, she does.
She'll ask
She
people.
gets the discount.
That's actually funny.
Oh, but she's so good at
Look,
it.
it's true.
Oh, that
It's true if
But
you
you know
don't
what, Ben,
ask.
when I asked, we talked about your mum is, correct me if I'm wrong, is your brother next door to your mum, and is there a hole in the back fence?
Yes.
Tell us about
at
that.
the back
forget-
fence.
You don't need to go over the fence. You don't need to go over. You go through.
This is for the grandkids.
This is really magical.
Yeah.
This
So
is
love
true.
this.
my brother and I lived next door to each other for 7 years
Oh.
because I went to look at the house that he bought in Redfern and went, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then Steve the builder
It's your
said,
baby brother.
Yeah. Steve the builder said, oh, there are 3 terraces next door too.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm living in one of them. There's 2 for sale. I went in and fell in love with it. Nick and I are best mates, so I bought the house next door.
How beautiful.
And it meant that when Nick's 2
family.
girls
One
were
girl
born,
family.
Yeah,
before
it's
we had
close.
children, I got to see Maisie every day of her life, my niece, who's now 15, and I got to see Coco every day of her life for the
So special.
formative years of their life.
so special.
And that was a shared car park where Nick could go, like when they were old enough, he'd go, okay, they're walking over now, and they'd walk down, up, and up into ours, right?
How fabulous.
So and that was so special. Then Mum's now on her own at her
Yeah,
place.
yeah.
And then the house next door came up and they said, oh, we're moving to wherever. And Mum said, oh, maybe one of my boys will buy it. And Mum told us that as a joke. And then
Yeah.
I said to Nick, you should get it. And this is how I convinced him. How's this as a sell? Because Nick was like, oh, it's very expensive.
If Ben can't know.
I know.
Yeah, he goes,
Yeah,
it's
it's the
very
king of it.
expensive. And I said, but you're not actually spending any money, right? You're just moving money out of a bank account. You're just moving money from out of a savings account into a home loan account.
Yeah.
Right?
What's the
Because
big
Nick's,
deal?
he had the money. He had a very successful business deal 2 years earlier, like a crazy
This is like
What was
successful
that one?
business
This
deal.
is
What
like
was that
over the
one?
money fence
I
now.
know.
all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
I know.
so you know, I know he's got some money, and
Yeah.
so I said, mate, it's just that's in your savings account.
Yeah.
You'll still have that money. It'll just be in a home loan account. And houses grow faster in value than money in the bank does.
over the money fence,
So really, you're not spending anything if you think about it. Nick then called Mum and said that, and Mum went, "What? That's bullshit." But she goes, "But
called it out.
I'd love you if you really want to." And so we bought the house next door. They've knocked a hole in the back fence, and they've put a gate in that's open 99% of the time. But now the Maisie and Coco, my nieces, they kind of wander into Mama's place at night and go, "What are you having for dinner?" And they kind of compare it to what's next door.
Oh, it's
They
beautiful.
go back and
Just-
forth. And
Do you know
If
what I
more
want to
families could be that way,
It's like
just wonderful. Really is.
Nicola's my
Yeah.
sixth
She calls another
sister.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say on this, bringing this into context, is about your family. Is prior to you filling huge shoes, Alan Jones's shoes on the radio, you were really fearful and really nervous and emotional. And who did you go? Who did you turn to? You went to your family and said, "This, I don't think I can do this. This is not right." Tell us about that. Someone who you really are revered in radio, Ben, and the one person that does it, who's in front of the microphone, is going, "No, this is wrong. I can't do this." And your emotion around that, and how the family kicked in,
yeah, well, I think it was just that.
because people would be surprised about.
I
that
think it's just a
story.
general fear. You know, when it's like, I don't know what's over that mountain. It looks a bit scary. Can someone else go first? That's what I was thinking.
That's a normal human response,
I wasn't
too,
like,
isn't it?
I wasn't thinking to myself, I can't do this job. But I was like, I don't want to go in first, because the guy who'd been doing it had been number one for 30-something years and unbeatable.
Unbelievable.
So it's like,
Alan Jones. Yeah.
I would just prefer, based on self-preservation, call me a coward. I was just like, someone else, get
But
someone
you
else
were
to go
teary
first.
even with the family. It
Yeah,
was-
the morning.
We were in deep.
Well, what
like,
happened
the
is
fear.
I said no initially, and then my boss, Tom Malone, who's one of my closest friends in the world,
He's a great guy.
said to
yeah.
me,
Yeah.
mate, I really think you need to do it, and here's why. And then Jodie thought it was a good idea. My mum thought it was a good idea.
Who didn't?
My
There was-
sister thought it was a good idea. My brother thought it was a good idea. I just didn't think it was a good idea.
You were the only
really.
one.
was the
Yeah,
one.
but my instinct, I'd always trusted my own instinct.
Yeah, so
And
do
so I was like, well, my instinct has taken me this far, so why would I ignore it now?
and I appreciate that.
And
you
absolutely.
know? And anyway, but then in a way I felt like I kind of got talked into it. I certainly had the last say on it, but then the morning before it started, I was at home having brunch with everyone. They came around and I just started bawling my eyes out because I actually felt a bit angry where I was thinking like, you guys fucking talked me into this.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it.
And I didn't say that.
Yeah, but I
Excuse
hear
my
that.
language.
No,
Yeah.
but I hear it.
But I was like,
Yeah.
It's
and I
full
sat
on.
there very quiet, I think at first, and then I was like, and then they were asking me how you're feeling. and I wasn't in the mood for talking. And this is like,
That's rare.
That's not normal around
No,
our-
geez, there's
our-
something
and
wrong.
my mum's there, my sister's there, my brother's there, and they're all and kids and everything. So they're all like, okay. And then I went and did it, obviously. And then it was probably about, I don't know whether it was weeks or months later, but I called Tommy when leaving the car park one day, and I said, mate, I'm good at this. Like, which sounds really bad. I go, but mate, this is perfectly suited to me, and this is going to work. And he goes, I told you it was going to work. I said, I know. I said, but I'm now acknowledging it, basically, that I get it. I reckon it is going to work. But naturally, you're just going to second guess yourself in that space.
What would
It
you
was just
say
a
to
big
people
jump.
listening about a leap of faith? Like, what's...
Yeah.
Well, okay,
like,
what I
would-
learned out of that dive was...
if you don't mind sharing
What I
that.
learned out of it was maybe their instinct is just as important as my instinct. And if there's 4 of them and 1 of me, well, maybe they're right and I'm wrong. So it has made me question a little bit more my own judgment a little bit and going, well, if she thinks it's a good idea and he thinks it's a good idea and I trust both of them implicitly, then maybe do it. And I've also just found myself too, I think after that, just saying yes more. There are some things that...
Glad. We
How
also
often is
say
that
it.
Hang on, is that something?
Yeah,
Is
no,
that a,
No,
Well,
it's huge.
Say
we get
yes more.com.
It's huge. Even
We've
last
been
night,
on
the
different
speech.
things,
Yeah.
and we're just
Yeah.
going, you know what? I'll just say yes.
We just say
I'll
yes.
give you an example.
3 letters, guys.
Adam Spencer,
Yeah,
Yes.
you know,
yes,
the
yes,
mathematician,
exactly,
and former Triple J radio host,
Yeah.
and just lovely guy.
Great.
He goes, mate, have you ever done theatre sports? I went, no, mate, no. And he goes, I need you to do theatre sports.
I'm only laughing because it just
And I was
sounds...
like,
I know,
and I
love
went,
him.
I don't want to do this. But I was like, I'm thinking that because it's
Wow,
like,
okay.
and I went,
Haven't
okay, I'll
done
do
it.
it. Okay, I'll do it. There was another time when I was asked to go on a podcast. There's a guy called Dan Illich,
Yes, yeah.
Irrational Fear. And he goes, we're doing a live show, but we're getting people who aren't comedians to try and urge you to do a spot, 5 minutes each. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I was like, hang up. And then you go,
What have I done?
because once you've said you're doing it,
Oh,
you're doing it.
See?
And
Yep.
so I've just found myself doing a bit more of that. While equally, if there's something that I just know, nah.
Yeah. And you know what, Ben, you
know,
you give some good life tips too, just like, sort of knowing you as well too, what you're sort of saying that if there is a big decision as well, obviously, ultimately, you do make the last call, but it's also wise to have sort of advice from sort of like, you might ring up Jodie going, I'm about to send this sort of like email out, or have someone else there and they might go.
Back up.
We
Hold
should
it up.
actually all.
I'll
it should-
text Nicola.
Yeah.
It should be
Help.
a legal requirement
Yeah.
that we all have someone in our lives who we call before we send that email or that
Yeah.
text.
Yes.
Because I've got those people in my life.
Yeah.
Well, Gus Wallen would agree with that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like you
Everyone
have
needs
those.
one person.
You have those. Tommy, who I mentioned before, I've called him before and said, I just want to read an email that I'm about to send. And I've read it to him and he goes, don't send that.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, an honest friend,
Don't say
not
that.
not
Exactly.
agreeing.
Don't say that.
Yeah,
You know,
and
you have
that's
a lot
what
of
a
friends.
really good friend
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, 100%
And your
stands
wife,
up.
Jodie. Now, just on that subject too, I want to give a shout out to gorgeous Jodie. And you're a proud dad of 3 gorgeous kids. And I've got to say,
Look at his
too,
smile.
We're a bit like, I want to show off a little bit with Ben too, because I'm saying,
Yeah.
Ben and I do go a fair way back.
We do.
Uh,
Through your daughter,
through
Gabriella.
Yes.
Powell,
Yeah.
which is so good.
Who's doing so well with
Yeah.
her
Yes,
show?
she
She was another Ben Fordham work experience
And that's
kid.
exactly right too. So you're actually
you
like
go.
you are a mentor. I sort of think with Brian Walsh was always known, the late
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
sad with Brian Walsh, and he was always mentored for young people. But so are you, Ben.
good
and,
point.
But just before we go there with Gabriella too, but sort of with you've also got a cobber dog.
Yes.
Roger, who the listeners.
Does he go between the
Fun
fence
fact
hole?
is related to my cobber dog,
Yes,
with
called
Richard.
Fred.
Freddie,
Yeah.
Freddie. And so we actually named him, and we actually said, can we get permission
Yeah,
to
this-
name
Yours
him
is
after
smaller
you?
than Nicola's.
So,
Yes. This is a funny phone call.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
so
Getting a
funny.
phone call from these
Yes.
guys to go, there's something we'd like to talk
Yes.
to you about.
Oh, and you're going,
I know.
jeepers.
I still
true.
remember
What have
where
I
I
done?
was.
Do you?
I
Oh
was
my
near
gosh.
the super centre. You know that kind of super centre? that
Yeah,
you drive
yes.
past?
Yeah, that
Where
one.
is that? Moore Park or
Yeah,
whatever
Moore
it
Park,
is?
or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was like,
funny.
I was there,
God, what was
and
happening?
they go, there's something we'd like to talk to you about. We'd like to name our dog Fred.
Yeah. Look at him.
Yeah. Okay. And they were like, because Fred's your son's name,
I know.
we just want to check that you're okay with that.
It's same as your son were calling the dog. And you're like,
Yes.
right.
I would be honoured.
Exactly.
And I was like, so...
Well,
It's-
we were
it's the best
honoured.
name,
We
I
were
love it.
honoured. It was more Jodie sort of behind the push going, it's time for a dog. And Ben was the one going like, no.
I didn't want it.
And eventually Jodie go and message him.
And now Roger and I
finally,
are best
now
friends,
they're
of
besties.
course.
He takes him for the biggest runs.
Of course.
But,
Dogs and kids.
So we're kind of
It's
like
endless.
family there. But that family started when Gabriella, my daughter, was doing work experience. And so she's actually at university.
How
and
long
she's-
was she working? How was she
well,
on
she
work
was
experience
going
for?
to go there lined up, I think, for a day or two.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is what happens. So
Yeah,
she's-
so
Everyone
you
gets
nurture,
one day.
You nurture the people that everyone's
Yeah.
given one.
Everyone
Yes.
gets one
yeah.
day. Anyone.
How does it
Yeah.
unfold from there?
Anyone. Well, someone will write and say,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
a
it's
guy
just-
wrote today saying, can I get 2 weeks work experience in late November?
Yeah.
And we've said no to that because it's too late
Get
in
one-
the year.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
fair
basically.
enough.
And because you get one day.
Yeah. And you know what?
So-
Gabriella got the one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
need to
then-
make,
and then-
sorry,
yeah,
so I need
right.
to make clear.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
starts
Yeah.
as one day.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
And then if you like it and we like it and we feel like let's do another day, then you do another day.
It's very
And it just
logical.
goes from there. Instead of some people come in and they do, after one day they know it's not for them.
Mm.
Or you realise, hang on, they're being forced to be here by their parents or whatever, But because we'll take them from a young age too. Others will go, no, you've got to be a certain age to do work experience. We have 14-year-olds. Like I've got a girl, Lucy Borg, who works with me. She's a full-time producer, superstar. She came in at 14
So good.
and we were like, how are you so confident, whatever? And she goes, I do Macca's drive-through.
Oh, bless.
So she goes, I'm used to
Yeah, see?
talking to pissheads on a Friday
Don't
night
you
who are
love
trying
that?
to order
Yeah.
a Happy
Yeah.
Meal.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I know.
so as we say yes to everyone, and then they just.
Greatest.
And now, how cool is everyone working on my show at the moment is a work experience kid.
Oh,
Started as a work
great.
The girl that
experience
started at 14, how old is she now?
kid. Lucy would be
Ish.
21.
So she's been there
Wow.
like
Isn't it
7 years or
incredible?
something.
No, but only full time for like
Full-time.
18 months or so
Oh,
since she left
okay.
school.
Okay, so
But
left
she
school.
kept coming. 14,
See,
15,
commitment.
16,
Yeah.
Commitment.
school
He does that.
holidays.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love this.
And then we had the CEO of Macca's in the studio recently.
There you go.
And I said, you need to meet Lucy
Oh,
Borg.
brilliant.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
would have been like,
And I love
Yeah.
when you connect the dots.
The
there
old
too.
drive-through.
But you might remember it. You just listened to
With the
the phone
hangover.
call that you got. I remember receiving a phone call. I got a message, I think, from Lisa, who sort of linked up the work experience in the first place, saying, "Oh, Ben Fordham wants to bring you."
Yeah.
And Gabriella had been at this work experience. I think she said, "Oh, it was going to be one day." Next, she's 2 days. She's there on the Wednesday, and it's on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
And Ben rings me up, gets my number, and rings
Yeah.
me up, and he
Yeah.
said, "You're Gabriella Power's mum?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I want to congratulate you." Yeah, you did. And
You rang.
Yeah, you
See
rang me,
what I
and
say
you
about
said-
this
and
guy?
He said, in fact, he said she's going to be there all week. And he said, you know what I like? He said, I like her attitude.
Yeah.
She's got a smile.
You're gonna make me
She's-
cry
no,
now. I
she's
love
willing to-
Gabriella.
she's-
But
she's
didn't she
willing
do
to
some
learn.
babysitting
Yeah.
too?
Yeah. And then from that, then Ben ended up saying, you know what? I think that he said you can help us out too. He said I think that you can work every Friday,
Yeah.
and it's going to be paid if you can organise
Yeah.
that with university, which she
brilliant.
did. And then her first job ends up being then on Chris Smith.
You
which
go
is-
the
she's
extra
a-
mile,
Actually,
Ben.
have a
You
listen
really
to this
do.
though. How's
So
this for
Ben,
synergy?
thank you.
This is synergy. Thank you.
Yeah.
But how's this for synergy? So Gabriella started, and
Yeah.
you work out pretty quickly. Okay,
Yeah, of
they've
course.
got it.
I get
right?
it. I like the one-day
Or-
formula.
Or they just, you don't even need to get it straight away, but you just need to be a certain type of personality that goes, okay, when you're being corrected.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
oh no, we don't put that there, we put that there. You know what I mean? For whatever
totally.
reason. And you tell them why as well, for this reason.
Pull the
Yeah.
cord.
So it's
to go
like,
out the head.
and then it's those who kind of get it, and then that you think, well, we can work with. But Gabriella just identified herself straight away as being great. I didn't have a full-time job going, but what then happens if I don't have one going? Because if someone happens to leave, good luck, you're
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
If they don't,
Of course.
we then spread the word around the station
Yeah.
or
Right.
wider than the station
Yep.
to say, if need be, to go, I've got someone here who's good. And I'll often say, but I'm probably going to steal them back at some point. So she went full time on another show at 2GB,
did.
and then she's on an aeroplane.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you remember this?
I do.
She's
the fact
going
that Ben
overseas.
remembers this, I
Listen
love
to this. You're
this.
going to love this,
Yeah,
right?
this is gold.
She's
Yeah.
on an aeroplane, and she happens to be sitting next to this guy who works at Sky News.
Yeah.
he gets halfway between there and the other side of the world where you do the halfway point.
Yeah.
And he's like, this chick seems really switched on. And she reckons that she's been working with Ben Fordham. So he then calls my mate Greg Burns. Greg Burns was working at Sky. He rings me and he goes, mate, Rob Rashke has just sat next to a Gabriella Power on a plane. I said, yeah. He goes, what's she like? And I said, oh, mate, she's a superstar. And I gave my reasons why. And then by the end of the flight, by the time she'd got to Europe or wherever, Greg Burns was contacting her about a full-time job at Sky
fabulous.
News. And she's been at Sky News ever since.
Incredible.
But she was sitting next to Rob Rashke. Rob called Burnsy called me.
See, if you don't speak up in life, guys, step out of the doldrums, speak up, be heard, be seen. Gabriella, obviously, with the bravado, with her
And
intellect.
she sends her love.
And she's got a big heart like you.
And you help so many people.
But what I get out of it is that I now get to see Gabriella on screen. And you think from my point of view, it's a little bit of when you get to see all of that unfold in front of you, whether it's on screen or off. I've got another former producer called Harriet Glenn.
Oh, the golden child.
The golden child. Harriet is the right-hand woman of Andrew Twiggy Forrest. So one of Australia's richest people.
Huge.
And Harriet went from work, and Harriet was in a Channel 9 doing work experience. A girl called Jess Tancred said to me, have you met Harriet? I looked over at Harriet. She looked like a very shy person who was kind of just standing there saying nothing. She goes, you'll want to meet her. So I start talking to her. One thing leads to another. She comes into 2GB. One thing leads to another. She's running my radio show. One thing leads to another. She decides to go overseas and she starts working for Piers Morgan. Wow. One thing leads to another. She's back in Australia working for Gladys Berejiklian. Wow. Then Gladys loses the job. Yeah. Twiggy Forrest hires her. And then after a while, Twiggy just, I think after a very short amount of time said, I think you need to join the executive team and you need to be with me whenever I go anywhere. And Harriet, a bit like my mum, is formidable.
Yes.
And it's like,
the word
I like my women strong.
No, I love you using that word now.
Strong women.
I like my women strong, and I like my blokes soft. Kind of a little bit. But now that I think about it, but she's
amazing.
And I'm just very proud of all of them. Anyone who's worked for me, and I take the approach too that, particularly on the breakfast shift, they wake up at 2:30 in the morning.
True.
Yeah.
If you're going to give your blood, sweat and tears for me at 2:30 in the morning, then I'm going to look after you and look out for you for life.
Well, a lot of people wouldn't like you do,
but I'll tell you what you get out of it. It's a misjudgment from those who take the approach of, you're dead to me now because you don't work for me. You're missing out on the best bit. You've missed out on the happy Hollywood ending at the end of the story where you get to see them on screen or flying on Twiggy's private jet or putting a newspaper together. And I've now had some of them. Zach McLean, who used to run my radio show, I was interviewed by him recently for the Sunday Telegraph, right, for High Stakes. Yeah. And I'm sitting down and Zach's got a tape recorder on the table asking me questions, and I kind of go, how cool is this? Wow. Because you're now a big deal over there at News Corp. Yeah. So you just get to watch them. Jake Lyle's now the boss of Sunrise at Channel 7.
I want to ask you a question. You know, I'm a good thrower. I go, I heard Sam Pang the other night on his new show. I don't even know what station it's on.
Channel 10.
He was interviewing Ian Botham. Yeah. And his question to him was, I love this question, what's the most nervous you've been when you're interviewing someone? And I want to ask you that question. When you've, in all your years of interviewing people, what's the most nervous you've been and why with in an interview?
Okay. I did a...
It wouldn't be a politician.
Wouldn't be Diane Woods, would it? She gets you shaking in your boots.
Well, actually,
only when I sing.
You know what? I'll give you around Hollywood superstars. I reckon I get a little bit nervous because when you do those interviews, particularly for television, you've got 8 minutes or 10 minutes. Whenever you see a Hollywood superstar and they've got a poster behind them, advertising the movie.
Yeah.
They've done 15 or 20 of those interviews in 3 hours, and you go back to back to back to back to back. I find that stressful.
Very.
But was it stressful or what's the word?
Nervous.
Nervous?
Like nervous.
Look,
anxious.
I've done interviews before where the person I'm interviewing does not know what I'm about to ask them. They've got no idea what I know, and I'm about to surprise them with it. So
you're nervous because you don't know the reaction.
You know what's going to happen.
This is about to go
I like
pear-shaped.
that.
Oh,
This is
that's
about to
juicy.
go pear-shaped. I sat a guy down once. Do you remember The Secret?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
You're a believer?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
Lewis
yeah.
Howes, all of them like,
Yeah, so remember when The Secret came
Yeah.
out, right? And this was, my mum and my sister were like, do you know about The Secret? And I was like, and again, you listen to people around you, so I was then, well, I better start doing stories on this because it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
And I then discover I get an email. I was working a current affair. I get an email.
I want to hear these.
There was one guy. The Secret featured several kind of life coaches from around the world, and there was one key woman who tied it together. But there was one life coach from Australia, and he lived in Melbourne. And this guy emailed a current affair and said, do you know that the only Australian life coach on The Secret owes everyone money? And I went, really? So I call this
He's
person.
bringing to this information.
So I call this
That is
person.
a secret.
That is a big secret. And then I ring another person, and I'm like, oh my God. That's the secret to getting rich, not paying anyone. So what I did
Oh my
to
God!
him,
So you've got him sitting there.
what I did to him,
Not
it's
one-on-one
worse.
interview.
It's worse. We're sitting like this. We're sitting like this. But what I did is I had screens, like you've got screens here. I had a screen over his shoulder with the Secret logo.
Yeah.
And a secret over my shoulder, a screen with a Secret logo.
Yeah.
But what he didn't know is in the part of the interview when I said, how much money do you owe to people? And he said, I don't owe money to anyone. And I said, really? What about these people? And then up in the screen below, so he's seeing it on that screen, right? So he's watching it. And it was, in some of those
I
stories,
got nervous.
No.
some
I'm
of
like
those,
going.
in some of those
What
stories,
happened?
they've found 3 victims, and it's like, okay, he's ripped 3 people. Well, this was like more. It was like another one. They just all went back to back in about 60 seconds, and I just got to the end of it. And when it got to the end, I didn't say anything, so it kind of dissolved back into the Secret logo, and he just, that's awkward.
Because you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah,
as
that's
you
awkward.
said, you're
That's
putting
a
it
bit
to
of-
someone and don't know
and
the
I reckon
response.
that's a bit of nerve and also like a little bit of adrenaline excitement.
It's a
Because
combo.
You nailed that.
I
That's
did it to
absolutely
there was a
brilliant.
Catholic archbishop in Tasmania, a guy called Adrian Doyle, who had covered up, and I can say that he's dead, so he can't sue me. But I pretty much said it when he was alive anyway. He failed to act on abuse in the Catholic Church in Tasmania, even though he knew about this awful pedophile priest called Monsignor Philip Green. So I said to him, I contacted him and said, I need to come to Tasmania and interview you about Monsignor Green, because I was aware of, I had a friend who sat me down out of the blue one day and he said, Darren, his boyfriend, and I said, yeah, and he said, Darren wants to tell you something. Okay. So Darren revealed to me that he'd been abused by this priest in Tasmania, Philip Green, who was now the Monsignor. And and he wanted to do something about it. All these years later, and as is the nature of these things,
Carrying the
Darren is
pain.
now dead because he took his own life.
Yeah, it was so
But at the
sad.
time, he just said, I want to tell this story and I want people to know that this guy, I reported the abuse to Adrian Doyle, the Archbishop. He knew about it. Green admitted to it. Why is he still in a parish? Why is he still in contact with
Imagine
kids?
the pain.
So I ring Adrian Doyle, the Archbishop, and I said, I want to come there. I said, because and I said, I'm a Catholic. So I dropped my kind of Catholic credentials. I went to St. Ignatius College in
Loretto girl.
So I was
Yeah.
dropping all those kind of things.
I hear
right?
you.
Yeah.
And I
Mother
said,
Mary.
so as a Catholic,
Yeah.
I didn't reveal that it had been a while between visits to church, but I said, as a Catholic, you've got a duty and I've got a
Same
duty
here.
to shine a light on this, so I'm going to come to Tasmania and interview you. And then the day before we were due to fly, his office called and said, oh, sorry, there's been a...
Of course,
And I said, oh, no, we're still coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the flights are booked, so
Yeah,
we're
good.
still coming.
We've paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, and look, I've spoken to the Archbishop and and he's already told me his word because it's important as Catholics. So she said, well, I'm telling you it's not happening because it's been decided by the Catholic Church. It's not Adrian's choice. I said, well, that's fine. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be in Tasmania. So we still went, and we turned up outside his residence, and sure enough, he eventually came out and welcomed me and said, come on in, which I thought, oh, that's interesting. And we sat down. It was one of those ones, again, of 2 cameras, so you get to see every moment of every reaction. And it was just a devastating interview of a rather old man trying to explain why he thought it was okay to leave a pedophile in a parish.
I'm shaking.
And it was like, and he even said to me
With
one
anger.
stage in the interview, and he said, well, there's a man who works there as well as like a cleaner or a bit of a like, and that's, he can, I kind of thought to myself, I rationalised it to kind of think, well, he'd be keeping an eye on things. And I'm like, what?
Oh, please.
Some old guy who's going around cleaning the joint, and he's going to stop this guy from grabbing kids.
Yes, no.
And the terrible, when I did that story, when it went to air, another guy came back to Australia from America. His father said, you better come in here and watch this. Got a tape out or a DVD, played my story, and would you believe, this guy, Drew Murray, who's one of my great mates to this day, he'd been through the whole thing with the same priest, same archbishop, years earlier, and had been told this will never happen again. So
I got triple
he ended up, Philip
makes me
Green
feel
ended
sick.
up being convicted because of his abuse. Drew and I became lifelong friends. He's the second guy who then, we ended up doing his story. I convinced him. When I first spoke to him on the phone, he said, mate, if I'm going to do this, you need to know something. Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining, which I wrote down. I was like, what does that mean? He goes, just be honest with me.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Never heard that.
So anyway, I know. But I ended up telling his story, and we became lifelong friends. We've been, in the years since that story, crayfishing in Tasmania, motorbike riding in Thailand.
See, that's typical you, though.
And he's come to my mum's place for Christmas Day lunch when he happened to be in Sydney, right? Met my grandfather TK before TK died. And he's like, and has become a lifelong mate who not because we did a story together, but because he's just my kind of guy and I'm his kind of guy, and he's just a great bloke who's become a lifelong friend.
Well, Ben, thank you for sharing that because that's really huge. And
I need a big breath.
I know.
Bit
And
heavy, but, you know.
No,
but
we've got to be
You asked
aware.
the question.
I know,
I
exactly.
did,
She
and we
asked the
need to
question,
have
exactly.
Yeah.
awareness around
but
these
you do
things.
make differences and in people's
across
lives.
the board.
And every day with what you do with your broadcasting as well, 2GB money, you do make a difference. You change people's lives. If there's
100%.
floods up in Lismore or whatever, you'll get on, and all of a sudden it's you do these
Do you know
things.
why,
DNA,
Nicola? I'll tell you why. Because a producer who worked with me years ago called Dane Hudson one day said, mate, you're going well. Like, mate, you're great at what you do and everything. He's this young bloke. And he was like, but can I just give you a little bit of feedback? I said, all right, yeah, sure. He goes, when you tell the listeners to do something with you, they will go with you on it. I've watched it. Like, if you say, let's raise money for this person, he goes, you raise the money. They actually donate the money and you raise the money. He goes, that doesn't happen with everyone else. And I was like, really? What do you mean? He goes, well, mate, I've worked with other hosts and whatever. You need to back yourself more because you can do that more. You can trust yourself now that if you go, we need to do this, that they'll do it with you. I went, right, okay. So anyway, it just gave me this encouragement to go, now we go, okay, this family needs $80,000. Can we do it by 9 a.m.? You know, and you go, and people want to help people.
That's lovely.
They just don't
There's
necessarily
more joy
know.
in giving than taking.
But
Remember that,
what
guy.
I've
That's a
found out-
fact. They've proven that.
What I found out too, though, is that I think people want to be able to give to something. They just don't know who to give to. So what we do is we sort through the GoFundMes and the people and the whatever. Sometimes people write to us and I look at the GoFundMe and go, mate, they've got enough. I know that sounds harsh, but like we have a lot of people come to us and others you go, these people are not going to be able to get that without our help. And you do. And then there are some people who are just really, they just stand out as, we had a girl years ago, it was actually we just spoke before about Lisa Vandenberg.
Yes, yeah,
who we
absolutely.
first met through
We
her.
did.
Yeah.
And it was her husband,
Yes.
Grant.
Yeah,
who,
who's great.
You girls will love this. He sent me he said, there's a girl who's written a bucket list called Sarah. And one of the bucket list items is she wants to read the news on radio. And I was like, oh, yeah, we can do that. He goes, I knew
see.
you'd do it. Yeah, perfect. So
Enthusiasm.
I'll put you in contact. I went, right. I go, what else is on the list? He goes, I don't know. I said,
God
send me the
knows.
list. Send
Oh,
me the
that's
list.
great.
right?
Curiosity.
So he sends the list. And then I called a meeting with my team at the time. We were doing the drive show.
Yeah.
And I said, how many things can we cross off this list? So we went through the list. And what I loved about her list, it wasn't all,
I want to go on a plane
I want to go
to
first
America.
class
Yeah.
and I want
Yeah.
to fly on a private jet.
Yeah.
One of the things was I want to fall asleep under the stars.
Oh.
Another one was I want to have an afternoon nap in a boat on a lake or on a pond or on a. I
Me
was like,
too.
oh my
Yes.
God,
I
these are
love it.
really sweet things. One of them was I want to write a message in a bottle and throw it in
Oh,
the.
that's so beautiful.
And so I'm like, what can we do here? So by the time she came in to do the news reading thing, she did the news reading thing.
Oh, she didn't know you.
No. And so we've ticked that off. And then I go, now one of them is you want to fall asleep or you want to have an afternoon nap in a boat on or whatever. And then we line people up. And someone goes, I've got a farm in the Southern Highlands. We've got a huge dam on it. We're a little boat and we've got a little da-da-da and we do this thing and you can come and stay here with your husband and whatever for the weekend. One of it, she wanted to do a hot air balloon or something. We had a hot air balloon person. Someone else had. And then people started ringing. Have a listen to this. The Sleep Under the Stars one.
I
A
get that.
guy
Gets,
called-
me-
that's
that gets
one of,
me
would
the
that be one
most.
of my favourites
Yeah.
too?
Now, I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's in the backyard, right? But a
Yeah.
guy called Frank rings in.
Yeah.
And I remember
See, the
what he did
power
for
of
work.
media.
He was in the shower game, right? So he was
I thought he
like-
was in the shower when he was
Okay, no.
very
So,
concerning.
he was a shower
yeah.
entrepreneur,
Yeah.
possible, had a shower empire.
Yeah.
Because he
Good
said,
business.
he said, for our honeymoon, my wife and I flew first class to the United Arab Emirates. We stayed in this resort, which is like a 7-star resort called whatever, in the middle of the desert, where you have your own thing that they drive you out to, your own kind of home out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And one of the things they do with you as an experience is on a certain night, they take you to this other spot and you sleep under the stars. He goes, my wife and I are going to pay for her and her husband to do everything we did at the same level that we did it. We flew first class, they're flying first class. They're doing a lot. We ended up going to dinner with these guys to Lee's Fortuna Court for Frank to meet Sarah and to
Wow.
Is that Crow's
And it was like-
Nest?
Did Grant and Lisa
Channel
go
9
too?
days.
Yeah.
My sister Rosie Scott's.
Yeah,
She
it was
worked
his
there for
choice. He goes,
years.
let's go to
Yeah.
Lee's Fortuna Court.
Don't you
So,
I love that.
so I love to be able to go, to know that there are enough good people out there that if I find someone who's a good person, they're just going to want to go, let's make their dreams come true.
Yeah, and
And you know, on that note, can I say, because Nicola and I talk about it a lot, about one simple word, gratitude
Yeah.
for the careers that our chosen
Absolutely.
careers. Because someone say, oh, you have so much power, you got the power of the microphone and the voice. It's
Yeah.
not that. At the end of the day, Nicola and I, because we are such good friends, we sit back and go, how much fun was that?
Yeah.
And then you get feedback, and that, look, we really enjoyed it because a lot of, as you only know, with all the interns and such like, there's a lot of effort that goes into producing shows.
Yeah.
And Nicola and I sometimes, when you get feedback, we just sit back and go, yes, or they've changed things, or they heard
Yeah.
this, and I'm going to start doing that at this time, or go to sleep because you do that, and whatever. And with you who give so much back to the community, Ben, doesn't it ultimately feel great? I've got goosebumps.
I know.
saying
Yeah.
it.
It's
It's just
Yeah,
a good,
no, I
it's
do-
a good
I-
feel.
Yeah,
Gratitude
it is,
every day.
But it's also, particularly with the younger people who work with me, it's like when they leave you, and don't get me wrong, a few times it's a bit devastating when they do. Or I've had times of going, no, no,
Yeah.
Yes.
no,
Of course.
and offering bribes
normal.
too, which and I do. Bribes
I love that.
are on the table. They're not under the table with me; they are on the table. So including saying, when you're trying to buy a house, I can help you. Right?
My dreams come
I can
true.
help you.
Oh.
Let's get you into the property market. Can
I
I
get it.
but
Ring
it's-
Veronica.
But what you get to see is it's almost like they're like stocks or shares, which sounds really.
No,
but you get
no.
to watch them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like,
it's I love the
It becomes a great thing
analogy.
to sit back and you hope too that they come to you when they're in trouble, and you don't necessarily follow every development in their life. Depending on some of them, you're closer to than others, but there's just always that link there that goes on forever, hopefully. And I said to some of them the other day, I thought, with me hanging out with Lawsy and Richo and whatever, and some of these younger guys who are working with me, they're like, so how did all that start? And I was telling them the story. And I said, I'm hoping that you guys, when I'm 90, that you guys are still taking me out to lunch.
I love that.
Sammy's 20
That's
years
right,
younger than
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
that's
agree.
got to be
I
part
love
of the
that.
deal. Because
That's
it's
the
like,
future.
I think it's smart. Yeah, I think it's smart. I love it. To me, it's all energy as well. Like it's people who are older I love because of their wisdom and life experience, and then younger ones, I just
why you
like
like
it
me.
as well.
Yeah. And you also, they make you so much better because, like, I'll give you an example on the radio show, Spiro Christopoulos, this young guy who works with me, he was a talkback caller who called in at 17 on my first day of breakfast, and then we ended up hiring him.
What?
And he's now won a radio award as the best new talent, right?
that
He's
is
22.
fantastic.
But
That's worth a lunch.
what was I just saying?
Yeah.
No, you're saying how much you loved us.
Yes, younger people.
Yeah.
Spiro, I love you.
We love you
Spiro
too.
said to me, I'm getting old person, it's all skinny.
Hey, with us. Yeah.
Spiro said at one stage we should be on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, yeah? I said, why? And he explained. I went, okay, you set it up.
Yeah.
You set it up.
Yeah.
So in other words, don't fight it. Just go with
Yeah,
it. Okay,
yes.
you set it up.
Go with
Yes.
it.
And then,
Yes.
no
Isn't
joke,
it?
a few months later, I'm outside Maggio's Bakery in Tamaray, and there are these coppers there.
Yeah.
And one of them goes, hey, Mr. TikTok.
Oh, you're like, you go, what are
I
you
go,
talking about?
Me? He goes, yeah. I go, TikTok. He goes, yeah. Excuse me, Prime Minister.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, that's from my interview with Anthony Albanese.
How's that? It was
Excuse
uploaded
me,
on.
Right.
Prime
And I'm like,
Minister.
Spiro, you're a genius.
You
'cause
are
it's like,
a
Go
genius.
Spiro.
so-
Shout out to Spiro.
That's the way too.
Love
And I tell you, well,
you.
you're certainly then cool in your kids' eyes as well, sort of keeping up with that. But I also want to say too, just and then soon we'll have to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
I think that
Is
you're
it 3
God,
hours?
can we
I know,
talk?
I know.
How many hours?
But you are such
Can we get a
What's
champagne?
going- I know, yeah. We've got some wine here.
You're the
Surely
one with
we
the
know
bloody
this.
wine. We gave it to you.
But also, you're such a fair and reasonable, man in every way. But
Oh,
also,
at
as,
times.
but also as a dad too. And I really like it. I think you sort of shared that story. And if you don't mind just sharing this little one too, with with your children as well. Like you'll call them out if something is, but you're fair and reasonable. But with your son Freddy, and didn't he leave his shoes somewhere on the side there? And then tell us about when you
Yeah.
got bullied and how to stand up for yourself. Can you just share that? 'Cause
Yeah, sure.
It's just like one of my favourite
Yeah, it's funny.
stories.
I know,
Well, your dad went into bat
pander
for
to
you
the
at
kids
school.
so much.
I
and-
shared that with Mark Burris.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because it's interesting that you've connected with that.
Yeah.
A number of blokes have said to me, oh, mate, I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So
Bullying thing. All it
tell
was-
everyone listening.
All it was is it's like the first
Incredible.
time Freddie was bullied. He's our eldest.
Yeah.
So it's bullying. Everyone's going to be bullied
Of
at some point.
course.
So the first time it happened to
Absolutely.
Freddie, a kid in our street told his mum. His mum told Jodie. Jodie told me that something had happened in the playground and whatever. And so we're like, oh, God, righto. So we went and spoke to Freddie about it, and Freddie explained what had happened. And it was like, oh, this kid, he just kind of picks on everyone, and now he started picking on me. And I was like, okay, so... And I'm like, absolutely,
Protection.
I'm just like,
Mode.
everything's flashing before
Of
my
course.
eyes.
Yeah,
Righto.
exactly.
What am I
Yeah.
going to do, and how am I going to kill this kid?
How many ways can I?
went, yeah, but
and then
I-
run.
I just feared the headlines
Every
of the Daily
parent's
Telegraph
got
if
it.
I did. Shock jock kills 6-year-old. So at Sydney school, so I'm like, nah, it's not good for the image. So I said to Freddie, look, there's several ways we can handle it. We had kind of met that kid's parents just around the way. So I said,
Right.
we can go and drop in on them. I can go and
Brilliant.
talk to their mum or dad and have a talk to them. or we can go and talk to the school about it. Or if you want to have a go at handling it yourself, I could talk to you about maybe what to say to him tomorrow, and we could really think about it really carefully and really so you know exactly what you're going to say. And he goes, I want to do that. I said, okay, well, let's go and sit down and we'll have a think about it. So I essentially wrote a script that he was going to deliver to this kid the next day. Because I said, and we practiced it, I'm not joking, 20 times.
Good.
Including the tone.
Yeah,
So I was like, I said, you know what tone means?
better than
Freddie goes, yeah, he goes, no. And I said, well, you know, if I'm saying to you, come on, off the trampoline, come on, and you guys don't come off. And then if I go, get off the trampoline, that's a change in tone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. Great
So he
lesson,
goes-
life lesson.
So what it is, he went to the kid the next day and he went up to him and he just said, he was with some other kids and Freddie went up to him and he said, hey, come, I've got to talk to you. You know, I said, don't show there's any drama, right? You've got to get him on his own. Don't embarrass him in front of other people. Talk to him one-on-one and just say to him, my dad found out what happened yesterday and he's told me...
He's in the trees over there.
...to tell you we can only be friends going forward if you don't do that again, don't do that again, and don't do that again. If you can not do those three things again, we can still be friends. Otherwise, we can't be friends. And he was like, oh, well, I wasn't going to do it again. And he goes, all right. So I thought, is Freddie going to be brave enough to deliver this? And so Jodie and I go to pick Freddie up from school.
Yeah, I bet you did.
And then
They were there at 12 o'clock.
I said to Jodie, I said, he probably wouldn't have done it, which is fine. I said, it's up to him, right?
Absolutely.
But I was like,
Young boy.
Even
but I
though he
said,
was in
end
the
on a
trees.
nice one too. When you deliver it, then say, but if you can do all three of them, we can still be mates again. Right? So it's nice in the beginning, serious in the middle, and then nice on the end. He said, yeah, that's fine. I wasn't going to do it again. So so I turn up to school and I said to Jodie, he probably hasn't done it. That's fine, but it's up to him. We turn up. I see the kid. So I just say his name's Robert, which it isn't. Yeah. So I go, hey, Robert. Yeah. He put his head down the
I
moment
bet
he
he
saw
did.
me. And I went,
And you knew.
oh, Freddie's done it.
You knew.
Wow.
He's
You
done
knew.
it.
Look at that.
So then afterwards we get Freddie home. I go, what happened? And he told us, oh, yeah, he said I wasn't going to do it again. I said to Freddie, he's going to forget. He will forget and he'll do it again because that's what kids do. And when he does, you just say, remember, 3. Remember the 3.
It's not that.
So 2 days later,
It's
2
three.
days later, he did forget. He did something to Freddie again, grabbed his hat or chased him or whatever, and Freddie went, Robert, not his real name,
Yeah.
3. And he was like, oh, yeah. And then Freddie then said to me later on that he was now doing it to some other kid. And I said, well, mate, now that you know how to stop him, just go and hold the 3 up again. And he goes, oh, I think he thinks that's only for me. And I said, just tell him that I said it's for everyone. So then Freddie sees this kid bullying some other kid and just went up and went and just tried it on him and went, 3. And he actually said, this kid, he goes, no, that's for you. And he goes, no, my dad says it's for everyone. So it became this thing of just like, hold the 3 up to
How
him.
fabulous.
And he's just a kid as some kids are where they're just like...
There's
you gotta
something
talk
about
all the
you and
time.
3. There's 3 kids. You get up at 3,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you
yeah.
gave him 3 suggestions.
So, you know,
I
it's
love
not
it.
perfect, but I also have a saying, which was my dad's old saying. Dad used to say, if you grab the tail, you get the whole tiger.
I love that.
And it's like, and my kids know that. I'll lay in bed
Speaks
with them
a
at night,
thousand
and I
words.
go, we lay in bed at night, and I say, how's everything going at school? Because, of course, they don't want to tell you stuff. And I'm like, everything cool, everything okay? I said, remember,
3.
if anyone ever picks on you or gives you a tough time, you make sure you tell me, because what happens if someone grabs the tail and they go, they get the whole
get them
tiger?
all.
Well, it's true.
Oh,
And that means the
wow.
whole, everyone turns up.
I just
happens
want
if
to
you
finish
grab
with Mark
Roger's
Boris.
tail?
You mentioned
Yeah.
Mark.
Yes,
I just want
yeah.
to say, did you know that Benny, when Mark was interviewing you, I heard that both of them listen to podcasts because it's like switches their minds off to something else before you go to sleep. I do too.
Yeah.
I do.
Nicola
we do
does
too. I
too.
find
It becomes addictive though.
Yeah.
Well,
Then it becomes-
I did
but
it on
puts-
the
it's great. I
aircraft.
go off to sleep.
when I
Yeah.
used to
It
work for the
redirects
airline.
my thought process.
This one is not sending anyone to sleep.
Yeah,
We just
no.
want to make that clear.
That's the thing. Nicola and I are
Everyone's wide
more
awake.
when you're walking, when you're
Yeah.
driving,
And
when
your
you're feeling
stories,
low.
and I've always
Lift.
said of anyone who I've met, and I've met a few people, you know, in my life so far, and hopefully I'll live
You
a lot
sure
longer.
have.
But I got to say, Ben, you are the best storyteller.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's very kind.
And full of
Yeah.
I love
heart.
stories.
I know.
Energy.
And it's so important in this life of sharing
Yeah.
stories
So
and learning
true.
that. But you are the best storyteller, so we're so honoured to
Oh,
have
well,
you.
thank
We
you.
are.
Thanks, Di.
You know,
It's just like a big
Fantastic,
hug
huh?
having
Yeah.
you in.
But we've
And
got some of our signature questions.
We do. Just
Yes.
we'll just do
throw
2
at you.
because we've
Yeah.
got all the time.
Shoot.
Oh, this one's just going to blow my mind. If you had the opportunity of meeting someone over the back fence, whether passed on or alive,
Yep.
whatever, anybody in this world, who would that be and why?
Oh, it'd have to be my dad.
I was,
Yeah, I mean,
Knew
Dad
it.
just
I
for
knew
a
it.
few things, just to update him on
Say
a few
his
things,
name.
depending
the-
on how
the
much.
ones, yeah.
I'd because Dad wasn't alive for me moving into the breakfast shift at 2GB.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that.
No, so he went before then.
Oh, it's-
so I'd probably, just as a little, you know what I mean?
amazing.
You'd
He's
want to do a little
listening.
bit of that. But
He
I
knows,
also,
he's around
but
you.
you know what? I did. I'm so glad I did certain things with my dad as well. Like at one stage I thought, I need to do a lunch, me, Freddy, John. As in John Fordham, Ben Fordham, Freddy Fordham.
Oh, yes.
Right? And so Freddie might have been 4, but I've got a photo. It's in my office at work, and it's like Freddie sitting across from Dad at Verde, and it's like, I'm so glad I did those
Thank
things.
God you did that.
And even things where you go, it's a boys' lunch. Because it's like, well, I don't know how long Dad's going to be around, but it's like just the 3 of us, because we do lots of family lunches, but I was like, no, because I'm able to say to Freddie, we had that. Yeah. So it'd have to be him, and if it was someone who's still alive, it'd have to be Donald Trump.
Whoa, yeah,
Harriet
we want to be
Trumpet,
at that back.
Oh,
fence
yeah,
too,
yeah.
I
I've
tell
got a
you.
lot to
And I
ask
think
him.
Gabriella
Bloody
Powell wants to be
hell.
there
I've got
too.
a lot
so
to
like,
ask
if
him.
you-
We'll
I
play
know,
some
which
golf
is
with him.
really good.
Yeah.
Nickers, your question.
If you could wind the clock back to 20-year-old Ben,
Yeah.
what advice would you give yourself, Ben?
Oh, I know some people, like, as I'm getting older, I do care less about what people think.
Yeah.
So that
So
would
true.
probably, and I think everyone experiences that. And it's
Most.
people need to take it seriously when they hear it in their 20s, because I'm telling you, it is true. Not that I was ever short of telling people what I thought, or but look, there were probably plenty of times that I wanted to tell a boss where to stick it. Thankfully, I didn't. So I'm not saying that I would have told more people where to go, but I'd say that, yeah, it'd be good to know earlier on in life that later on in life you do not give a flying F what 99.9% of people think. There's a really small number of people in your life, and if you upset them or if you
That's
disappoint
different.
them, it's the worst feeling in the world.
Absolutely.
But everyone else, really, I wish
As
I
long
had
as you're
known
coming
that.
from the right place,
And
it
you
doesn't
get it
matter.
too when you're in the public eye too. You get the good and the bad and the
Yeah.
whole thing
And
there.
ugly.
We have to. I have to. It's normally 2, but 3 questions.
Yep.
What makes you happy, Ben?
What makes me happy? Lying on the trampoline
Looking at the stars.
with the kids
Yeah.
and looking up at the clouds.
Ah.
I play a game.
I've got that whole image.
I've invented a game
Is the
called-
trampoline bouncing,
And
or
what
you're
about-
just,
what
you're
about-
just doing that?
Well, as far as just like, where's my happy place?
Yeah.
The trampoline's the best thing in the
Backyard,
world,
see?
right?
Don't you
Like
love
when
the
we
trampoline?
backyard.
when
It's
we
in the
bought our
backyard.
house, yeah, this is perfect. This is over
I
the
fell
back
off
fence.
one.
See?
I'm not so keen.
And I know that we've gone on for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
I think
but,
it's
We're
15.
going to do a
actually.
3-part
but
series.
I'm going to tell you this just quickly.
Hey,
but
because it's Ben.
when-
I love that. The
when we
three.
bought our
We're
house,
three. I love it.
when we bought the house that we live in,
Yeah.
I went into the people who just sold it. You have that moment where you go, hi, I'm you and
Yes,
you're
yeah.
me, and and first of all I said to them, would you mind? I've got a bottle of champagne in the car. Would you mind if I brought it in and we could all share it? The 4 of us.
yes,
And
yeah.
they said sure. So I went and got it. I brought it in. I handed it to this guy Matt, and he goes, it's cold. I went, yeah. He goes, where'd you get that from? I go, from my car. He goes, you bought champagne on ice to an auction. I said, oh yeah, and I was buying this house. Like, my wife's pregnant,
Yeah.
and like this was the house that just absolutely worked for us. So we share the champagne, and then I looked out the back, and there's a trampoline out the back. I went, don't judge me, but can I go and bounce on your trampoline? And they went, okay. And I just went out there and just bounced up and down going, how good's this? So now I lay out on that trampoline with Freddy, Pearl and Goldie. They want to bounce, but the only way I can convince them to lay down, because it is quite okay, let's end on this spiritual thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm telling you,
and
try
Di-Di-
this.
I wanna know
Try
about
this.
Roger the
I
dog.
love it.
Try this.
Yeah.
Lie on your back on the ground.
Yeah.
Stare out at the blue, and particularly with kids, you've got to remind yourself as well as we're laying on the edge of this earth, and that thing out there is this absolute kind of unknown abyss. And it's a really cool thing that I just love doing with them, because it's just a little bit of a feeling of like how small we are really in comparison. And then to try and convince the kids to stay a little bit longer and do it, I invented a game called Bird, which is first person who spots a bird flying over the top. You go, bird.
I love it.
So that's our game.
This is our language.
We play bird.
And if not, do it at night with the kids early when
Well,
it's dark.
I've now.
And the stars.
How's this?
Yes,
Jake Lyle
Yeah, like
lent me
Jake.
his tent.
Did he?
What he
so
what?
he lent me his tent.
Oh.
Yeah.
The last 2 weekends in a row,
Did he?
I've camped in my own backyard with Freddy, Pearl,
Oh,
Goldie.
I
Girls
loved you, Ben,
Freddy
but
the
now I
other
love you
night.
even
I
more.
know.
And guess
I want
what?
to go camping.
Guess what? The roof of the tent, you can either have it, because I'm now a camping
yes,
guy, right?
yeah.
Hasn't got a sunroof.
You can have it. No. Yes. No. Get this.
See the
You
stars.
don't use the cover. If you don't use the cover, it's just fly screen. So it's like
Oh, that's brilliant.
you're looking up at the stars, and it's like not that we see that many stars.
I'm
in
floating.
Sydney,
But still.
But it's like, lay on your back and stare at space.
I'm
for a
going to
while.
do it tonight.
We'll talk about, I know.
Beautiful, Ben. What a
Talk
beautiful
about
way to
Lovely
everybody.
talking to you guys.
We
Reach
adore
reach
you.
for the stars, and everyone, thank you for listening. And you can watch this on
You can
YouTube.
soar.
Ben Fordham, we are so thrilled.
Thank
and
you.
We love getting ratings because it helps us grow and our community's
Yes.
growing. And you know
Yes.
about that, Ben. But I don't know that you know this, Ben. Di has her own rating systems.
Yeah.
So we've got Ben Fordham on.
The problem is it's got to be a 3, though, but it's
reckon-
got to be more. No,
Well-
you know what it's going to be? Infinity.
What if
Because the stars is infinity.
Perfect.
It's infinity out of 5.
Infinity and beyond.
I know.
Love your work.
Love you.
Wow.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Ben,
much.
for listening.
Ciao.
Wow.
Thank you.
That